Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to today's video, which is another Makeup and Movie Monday. I hope you guys have had a really good week since the last episode. Today we are going to be talking about one of my favorite films and one of my movies that I kind of grew up with. I know I'm doing a lot of those, but I like to talk about movies that I kind of know quite well about because, you know, I like to kind of talk about films that I know and that I would be able to kind of tell in a really good light. I hope I've been doing that. I mean, this is like maybe my fourth or fifth one now, so I'm kind of getting into the flow of doing these. If you haven't checked out my previous Makeup and Movie Mondays, please check them out. I seem to be doing okay with them. I mean, once I kind of finish filming them, I'm kind of like, oh, I should have done this, I should have spoke about this. But once I kind of film, I'm done and I upload. So if you couldn't tell by the title, this week we are talking about Fight Club, or if this was the other way around, it would be written Fight Club. But yeah, I just really wanted to talk about this film because it was it's I don't know, it's just such a revolutionary film in my opinion. It's a movie that has got such a big cult following, and I think when it came out as well, it actually did really well. I mean, yeah, I'll talk more about it when I put on the makeup. But I remember being super young when this film came out. So yeah, as per usual, when I'm talking about the film, I'll be putting on my makeup, but I'm not going to be talking too much about the makeup itself because that's kind of secondary to what I'm talking about. So let's get on with it. So yes, Fight Club. This is, I don't know what genre you would put it under. I guess it's kind of thriller, action, psychological, weird, pretty amazing movie. So this was released in 1999. How crazy is that? I actually thought it was much older than that. I thought it was kind of mid 90s. But I remember when this came out. Um, so this is a movie directed by David Fincher. I'm sorry, I'm really sleepy today. It's like 5 o'clock in the afternoon and I'm super sleepy. Anyway, so directed by David Fincher, and it stars Brad Pitt and Edward Norton and Helena Bonham Carter, not Bottom Carter as I used to call her when I was younger. Like Meatloaf, like it's Jared Leto as well when he was actually a decent actor. An amazing cast, and like I said, this was directed by David Fincher, who previously, had done Seven, so that's got Brad Pitt in it as well. And I believe, yeah, before it was The Game, which was a movie with Michael Douglas and Sean Penn, which is a fantastic thriller. If you have not seen that, please check out The Game. It is a great movie. It's such a messed up movie, and I think that's what I like about David Fincher movies. Is, let me just get my mirror. Sorry, is that they're all just really have deep meaning and thoughts to them. So especially with something like Fight Club. So if you haven't seen this movie, where have you been? Again, like I pretty much want to say with every movie that I kind of talk about. Yeah, where have you been? And also, I'll be talking about spoilers and just kind of, my opinions on the film and just like that in general, like I would anyway. So originally, it was a book by Chunk. I can't even pronounce his last name, Padanik. I'm not even gonna try and pronounce it. I think I've tried to pronounce it so many times, and I know there's an easier way to say it. But his first name is Chuck. I'm an idiot. I apologize. So again, David Fincher directed this, and essentially, it's about a guy named Jack. I always never realized if his name was Jack or it's the narrator, because on the back of this DVD, he says his name is Jack. On IMDb, it says the narrator, but when he's talking about himself in like the third person in the movie, he says his name is Jack. So I'm gonna call him Jack. So yeah, you have Jack, who is in this kind of dead end job. He's living this kind of suburban life where he's obsessed with IKEA, and he doesn't have a girlfriend or anything. He just is just getting on with his life. and he meets this guy named Tyler Durden, and they become really good friends, and they kind of, you know, start to like, you know, Tyler one day is just kind of like, I want you to hit me, because they're just in this bar because Jack has lost his house. His house like blows up when he's coming back from coming back from from work. um and Tyler's like, yeah, I want you to hit me, and hit me as hard as you can. And Jack's kind of just like, okay. So he hits him, and then it turns into this whole kind of fight. Essentially, you can probably see where I'm going with this, especially with the title of the book and the film. They kind of they fight, and then, you know, they kind of make this little club, essentially. It's so funny the way I'm just trying to like, they're fighting and it's a club where it's like exclusive members, and it's just obviously like an underground club and everything. And then it just kind of turns into this whole thing where they just start becoming criminals and everything. And obviously now, spoilers, it kind of turns out that Tyler and Jack are the same person. So because Jack has been living this really kind of mild, boring life, he needed some kind of entertainment, you know, something thrilling to do with his life. And that's when he kind of thinks up as Tyler, like, you know, he creates this character. And throughout the film, when I first saw the film, I never noticed it. But you see glimpses of Brad Pitt just like popping up. And what I find really crazy about it is that it's done so subtle. So it's not like it's, oh look, boom, here is Brad Pitt, here is Brad Pitt. Like, it's a slow kind of introduction to him. And that's one thing I love about this movie, is that there's just so many things to expect as well, and the characters are also like unique and insane. And I forgot to mention Helena Bonham Carter's character. So her name is Marla, and Jack meets her in this kind of I don't know what they're called, but they're like these meetings. So when he was going through that time of not being able to sleep, he was like, I'm going to go to these kind of meetings where people are either like, you know, drug addicts or they have cancer. So he goes to the cancer one, and that's where he meets Bob, which is Meatloaf as well, and also Marla Singer is there. And they kind of start this weird friendship, I guess it is. And she is insane. Like, she really is this like the most unhinged person in the whole world. But yeah, they kind of, you know, when she meets Tyler, she starts like getting off with him and all that stuff. And I'm probably not just, you know, describing it very well, because that's one thing about me, about describing a movie. I talk about the ins and outs of everything, probably just not very well. But essentially, the whole film is just so many messages towards it. Essentially, when it comes, like in the beginning, you see Jack is this kind of obsessed, wanting that whole IKEA life. One thing I really love about the movie is the effects. So there's a scene where you're meeting Jack for the first time, and it's showing his bathroom as like an IKEA catalogue, because he essentially is like a collector when it comes to IKEA furniture and wanting everything perfect and uninterrupted. But then as soon as he meets Tyler, it all just like goes out of the building, because he's living this life. And then when his flat gets blown up, he ends up living in this house with, like, in Tyler's house, which is a shithole. And what I like, kind of the message around it, is that not to live your life by products, and not to kind of give into the commercialism of, you know, having to be popular and having to buy everything to be happy. I'm just deciding on what I look to go for. I'm going for a pink look today because I want to kind of represent the soap that is in Fight Club. Not that I will achieve it, but I'll get there. And yeah, another aspect of the film as well, like, I'm just gonna bring it in there. Tyler and Jack start to make soap, which they make out of the fat of you know, liposuction, which is, when I first saw it, I was just like, what the hell is going on with this film? Like, it's such a, like, if you have seen this film and you love it, you would know the craziness, the weirdness around it. Um, and again, when it comes to the characters, like especially Brad Pitt's character, because his, like beforehand, like I mentioned, he was in Seven, which was directed by David Fincher as well, and stars Morgan Freeman. His character wasn't as kind of insane. He is like, you know, that kind of goody two shoes, you know, kind of policeman and everything. And him in this is amazing. And Edward Norton in this as well. Like previous to this, he did American History X, and wow, if you have not seen that movie, it's obviously not an easy film to watch. Um, but my God, it is. He did amazing in that, and he got nominated for an Oscar. Didn't win it. He has never won an Oscar. He takes it very personally, I believe. Looking at just like interviews and stuff that he's done, he's like, I should have won an Oscar. But yeah, like American History X is just fantastic. And even I didn't actually look at what Helena did before this movie, but she's always just made like fantastic movies. This is before her Tim Burton era, so this is all like her kind of, yeah, pre Tim Burton and pre like being the same character in most movies. But yeah, the film itself did like super well. The cast in it is amazing. Like I mentioned, you get like Jared Leto pop up in it even before he's quite famous. Meatloaf's in it, who's always kind of, you know, if you know him as a musician, he's always been quite famous. But to see him acting, which is quite funny because Bob has bitched it. So if you haven't seen the film, you probably wouldn't know what I'm talking about. But when because his whole backstory is he used to be a bodybuilder who would take steroids, and then I think he took too many steroids and he grew boobs. But he had cancer because he had cancer. Then he lost his balls, and then he joined the Fight Club because he was like a really good fighter. So I'm just patting everything down with my powder. And then, you know, that whole iconic scene is when he sadly gets killed when they're doing this whole ambush. You know, his name is Robert Paulson, so very iconic moment in like Fight Club. So I'm just going to put my lips on, and then we'll get more into the film as well. I'm just testing out a new lipstick today, so I'm very excited to see what this is like. I really like red lipsticks. They're great. Okay, right. So yeah, as I say, this movie is just beyond iconic because everyone's like, you know, the first rule of Fight Club is you do not talk about Fight Club, and then the second rule, and then the third rule is, you know, this is your first night, you have to fight. And I remember when I first watched it, and it was just like, okay, these people are just gonna fight, okay, like bare knuckle fighting, and it's more than just like an action. It's not really an action film when you think about it. It's such a kind of psychological thriller because this whole time you don't realize that Tyler is Jack, or like by yeah, basically. So this made like this fantastic scene when Marla's like, oh, where's Tyler, or something like that, because I'm trying to remember because it's been a while since I've seen it, but I mean I probably should have prepared beforehand, but I've been very busy. Yeah, just that whole scene where like Jack says to her, oh, you know, Tyler's gone, Tyler went away, and she gets really confused. And obviously you see this whole little flashback of, you know, Jack fighting himself when you think it's him fighting Tyler and everything. But yeah, I just really wanted to talk about this movie and just how much I love it. Like, I think I went through a phase of watching it like once a week because it was just so damn good. And I love Edward Norton as an actor. I think he's extremely talented, but he is extremely, I mean, the opposite of modest. I mean, if you've heard about him, like in certain movies, like why he's not the Hulk anymore is because he wanted to rewrite the whole script and direct the movie when he's not the script writer or the director. But yeah, and I think it kind of was way before. It might have been around Fight Club as well. I don't know if he was like that at all, but on American History X, he was definitely probably trying to be quite controlling. But yeah, Brad Pitt as an actor, I think he's always been great. I mean, he's made some terrible movies, but I mean, he was pretty good in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood recently, where he won his first Oscar. Um, but yeah, just Fight Club as a movie is just extremely iconic. If you've never seen it, please do. I mean, I have just spoiled the ending, but it's probably one of the most um, kind of spoken about movies ever and spoken about endings, like twist ever. The soundtrack is amazing. It's got like the Pixies, like Where Is My Mind, which made, the film made that song very um, iconic as it is now, even though Pixies have been around for such a long time. Um, but yeah, everything about this movie is amazing. I love it. I never see any fault with this movie. Um, yeah, please give it a watch if you haven't. If you have seen it, let me know what you think, because I don't think I've ever met someone who doesn't like this movie. But yeah, that's it for today, guys. I did a really quick makeup look. You probably can't see very well because my lighting is terrible. This lipstick I tried, by Smashbox, is really nice. And the eyeshadow, I just did a mixture of like a Revolution palette and a Nofra palette. And yeah, that's it. And I'm really warm because if I open a window, you'd hear lots of noise. But that is it for my makeup and movie Monday. I hope you have enjoyed somewhat of me talking about a great movie. And again, don't forget to like and subscribe because I upload videos every time I get a chance to film something, and that is quite often these days. So please check out any previous videos that you haven't seen. If you suggest a film that you want me to kind of talk about, review about, let me know in the comments. If I've seen it, I'll definitely review it. If I haven't seen it, um, I'll try and see it if I can. But yeah, that's it for today, guys. I hope you're very well, and I'll definitely see you in the next one. Bye.